Welcome to the third video of the series, The Art of Texturing, Food for Thought. This episode is about methods. This series is meant to be a software agnostic art glossary about material creation. My name is Vincent Desrosiers and I've been working in the video game industry for the past 15 years. I hope you remember the visual concept I talk about for the creation of materials. If you didn't saw the previous video about art direction or references, I encourage you to watch it before this one. Now that we talk about art direction and references, we can move to the next topic. Picking up a method to create our data. No matter the subject or art direction you are going for, an efficient method can change the outcome of a production. This video will only be an high-level intro to the topic. My previous one on references was a bit long, so I will try to contain myself this time. The method is the way you do things, not just the software you use. Let's take an example. A figurative sculpt. There is many ways to do it. But to keep things simple, let's take 3 different approaches. The nodal approach first. Long, limited in reusability, great for practice though, or extract little recipes. The 3D sculpt and made with leverage of scripting, automation processes, alpha, reasonably long and much more direct. Traditional modeling. The simplest in terms of process, in my opinion, hard to use directly in production though, and also to build more complex shapes. The numbers here are not to approve or disapprove one or the other. Those are mine, and they may vary depending on your level and how comfortable you are with those processes. I just want here to start talking not about the software, but the methods, which is very different. For me, the method you use is a wide subject, composed by different elements. Remember when, in part 2, I was talking about analyzing references, concept art, like how many assets, etc. When it comes to method, this is the dispatch. In short, how you break down things. After that, how you do it. That's the process. Procedural, bake textures, how you're going to use a global normal, tileable, painted, photo batch, etc. Finally, the context. The type of shader, texel density, or even the time you have. It's what I have in mind when I ask someone the method or recipe they are planning to use. Respectively, what, how, and where is your data going to be used? This is less a linear process rather than a brief listing. Changing one might impact the other. Because those have dependencies with each other. People really often take a dispatch or process they are used to and go from there. It can work, but taking all aspects in consideration often results in smarter recipes, in my opinion. Here, if we want to do this facade, before asking myself ZBrush or designer, I would go with a dispatch like that. Pink, blue, green, 3-wall stone, tileables. Orange for the stone trim. In red, decorative elements. Blue and yellow for the windows and grid. With a texel density of 2 meters. It would result in 7 materials at least for this wall, or 6. 2K material representing 2 meters. Maybe you would prefer to bake it. Taking in account this section is 2 meters, with a 1K per meter TD, it would mean baking this wall require an 8K texture set, and we would not have everything in it. We probably have more than this wall in our scene, right? So it might be better avoiding this approach or reduce our TD. If we keep the same texel density though, but go with 4K texture set, we could easily bake bigger chunk of this facade, like the two red areas, it would require more scopes, but would create higher quality asset at the right TD, but more expensive in texture memory. We could keep the green, orange, and blue section as tilables. What if your shader allow layering and you could have nanite meshes? As you can see, there is no right answer. Changing your TD, memory budget, time constraints, or process will change your recipe down the line. Everything is connected. The method or recipe you use is driven by the context. It will be easier to understand with another practical example. Let's take a statue. If this one is around 2 meters high with a 1K per meter TD and smart UV packing, it could end up in a 2K material if we bake it the classical way. High poly, low poly, bake with specific mat. But what if we have a gigantic statue? This one would require so much 8K material to have the right TD baked one-to-one that your technical director would just hand you down. You might want to bake a simple global normal to retain some detail, layered two tileable material and blend them following a baked mask, maybe put in the alpha of your global. So you would end up with 3 different 2K texture set, which is not crazy cost for an asset this size. Plus, the yellow material here can be generic, and you are going to be able to reuse those on other assets. Now, this would be a global and mask recipe, right? But if you have access to nanite, you could simply decimate your sculpt or retopo it to create a mid-res, unwrap it and bake your blend mask in your vertices. So you just get rid of your global and your mask. That way you would just need the generic material to texture your asset. That's even less expensive in memory cost, slightly less sharp in shape detail though. There is always many ways to do things, and you should pick the one giving you the best money for your buck and time. Side note, we talk a lot about identifying our needs and processes. I also like to curate my references depending on my plan. It can seem trivial, but do you prefer to work with references back like that or like this? Category and structures following your plan help your brain focus and be more efficient. So, when talking about the processes, of course, software are important. They will impact how you do tasks, your velocity, workflow, even how you hire in some cases. But the most important part, in my opinion, is still what you want to do. A simple surface library, a blend, some trims, decals, layering asset, baked asset, mid poly, etc. Again, I just want to emphasize on the fact that what you want to do and how you want to do it is as important, if not more, than the software you will use. Now, if you remember, the context is basically the technical rule you have, such as the shader you use. We slightly talk about it on our practical example, but it would require and merit its own video. For the texel density, I have an introduction to material creation that I will link in the comments. That leaves us with the time budget, which is a very important topic in my opinion, and I want to touch on quickly. When it comes to environment or big projects, planification and establishing time frame is a big part of becoming autonomous and useful for your team. It also helps you to mentally stay efficient and committed by breaking entire project in small doable tasks. Having only a reference board can be enough for small projects, but can also lead to exhaustion. People often ask me how to time frame things like that. After all, we don't see in the future. When it comes to planning, I usually like to start with a simple list of what I think I would need. Let's take this breathtaking corridor from the Spitzer House in Budapest as an example. I start a rough listing of assets, which is already following the dispatch of my structures, props, deco, and material. I will certainly need specific shaders, right? Probably some blending for the structures, layering for the statue, etc. Those are very subjective, but we can see I'm already thinking about the method here. There is more, but don't forget tasks like research, blockout, lighting, FX, and debug. After that, simply create a little timeline for the available time you have for your project and assign your task. The best way to time box something, if you are not familiar with this kind of process, is to ask yourself, how much time would it take, and just add 30% at least. Don't forget to place tasks that have dependencies together, like the material for the floor, but also the mesh for it. Now, try to make everything fit and see how it goes. In this first draft, we can already see that not everything can fit in it. You can either now retro plan, so make everything get in according to the time you have and squeeze the time of each task. Extend the time if you have more time available, or just cut elements to reduce the amount of work, right? Here, I choose to add 2 extra weeks, and I also reduce some element and squeeze everything in my 10 weeks. So the time available here is directly setting me for the level of finishing I will be able to put on each element, which is very important. If you go the other way around, it might lead you to burnout or exhaustion, just trying to reach some kind of level of quality without taking into account the time you are spending on something. It's okay and it's human to not like fit in all those time boxes. They are just a tool. The idea is not just to always be on time. This planning is just a tool to help you. If you are sometime a bit early or a bit late, that's fine. But it's really helping you to avoid burnout or exhaustion. Also, with that plan, it's easier to make decisions about the workload or the level of quality you want. That's what in production we call scoping. With that in mind, I hope you see the value of thinking of things to produce through the lens of dispatch, process, or context. We have reached the end of this episode. I hope you find a few ideas that will help you better structure your thinking and approach future projects. Once again, don't hesitate to leave a comment if you have feedback and follow the channel for the next video. Cheers!